Act 1. Hook opening. Approximately 150 words. And there is a biblical king who received extraordinary wisdom directly from God. He ruled the most prosperous unified kingdom in ancient Israelite history. He amassed more wealth and glory than any ruler of his time. His wisdom drew envoys from across the region to pay homage. But at the peak of his power, he abandoned his core faith, let desire swallow his reason, and left a divided kingdom and a lifetime of unresolvable regret at his death. What turned this man of supreme wisdom into a slave of desire? What hidden shifts in human nature drove his steady fall from the peak of power? And Act 2. Background introduction, approximately 350 words. And Solomon was the son of David and Bathsheba, the third and final ruler of the unified ancient kingdom of Israel. He ascended the throne around 970 BCE and ruled for 40 years, until his death around 931 BC. By the time Solomon took power, his father David had already expanded Israel's territory, unified the 12 tribes, and established Jerusalem as both political and religious capital. The kingdom was stable, trade was active, and neighboring kingdoms had accepted Israel's regional power. And Solomon was not the eldest heir. His elder brother Adonijah had already claimed the throne before David's final confirmation. With the support of the prophet Nathan and Bathsheba, Solomon secured his succession and eliminated Adonijah to end internal opposition. At that time, ancient Middle Eastern society was organized around tribal alliances. Rulers relied on both divine authority and personal wisdom to maintain control. People revered Yahweh and believed that a ruler's wisdom came from divine blessing. The Israelites expected Solomon to continue David's glory and expand the kingdom's prosperity and influence. Solomon's early actions met these expectations, and he quickly established his authority across the entire kingdom. And Act 3. Story mainline, approximately 1,200 words. And Solomon's life follows a clear arc from humility to excess, from wisdom to decay, with each turning point shaped by his own choices. In the first stage is early humility and wise rule. When he first took the throne, Solomon traveled to Gibeon to offer a large sacrifice to God. God appeared to him in a dream and told him to ask for anything he wanted. Solomon did not ask for longer life, more wealth, or the death of his enemies. He asked for a discerning heart to judge the people and to distinguish between good and evil. God was pleased with this request. He granted Solomon wisdom greater than any person on earth, and also gave him wealth, honor, and peace that no other king of his time could match. And Solomon's wisdom was quickly put to the test. 2 sex workers came to him, both claiming to be the mother of the same living baby. One baby had died in a night, and the two could not agree on who the living child belonged to. Solomon ordered a sword and said he would cut the living baby in 2 and give half to each woman. The real mother immediately begged Solomon to give the baby to the other woman. To save its life, the fake mother agreed to cut the baby in half. Solomon immediately ruled that the woman who begged to spare the child was the real mother and returned the baby to her. This judgment spread across Israel, and the people recognized Solomon's extraordinary wisdom. In the first half of his reign, Solomon maintained consistent governance. He reorganized the administrative divisions of the kingdom, improved tax collection, built a strong army with thousands of chariots, and established extensive trade routes with neighboring kingdoms from Egypt to Mesopotamia. His fame spread far, and the Queen of Sheba traveled thousands of miles to meet him. With gold, spices, and precious stones, she asked him many difficult questions, and Solomon answered everyone perfectly. When she saw the prosperity of his court, the order of his kingdom, and the scale of his buildings, she acknowledged that his wisdom and glory exceeded all that she had heard. And the second stage is the expansion of desire and the departure from faith. As his fame and wealth grew, Solomon began to pursue more pleasure and glory. He started 2 massive construction projects: the first temple in Jerusalem and his own royal palace. The temple took 7 years to build. The palace took 13 years to complete and was far larger and more luxurious than the temple. He used massive cut stones, gold plating, and ivory carvings to decorate the palace, to display his royal power. And Solomon also accumulated wealth at an unprecedented scale. Records note he received 666 talents of gold in tribute each year. Silver was so common in Jerusalem that it was valued as little as stone. He built a throne covered in ivory and gold, with 12 carved lions on either side, a symbol of absolute power. He also married 700 foreign princesses and took 300 concubines. to seal diplomatic alliances with neighboring kingdoms. These women came from different religious backgrounds and worshipped other gods. To please them, Solomon built altars for their gods on the hills outside Jerusalem and worshipped them himself. This directly violated the core commandments that Israelite kings were required to follow. And the third stage is the decay of the kingdom and the final end. God was angry at Solomon's betrayal and sent prophets to warn him. God said that after Solomon's death, the kingdom would be torn apart, and only one tribe would remain under the rule of his descendants. God also raised up 3 enemies to harass Solomon during his later reign, so that his kingdom never knew full peace again. Solomon tried to suppress his enemies, but he could not reverse the damage he had done. In his later years, he reflected on his life and wrote that all worldly pursuits were vanity, a chasing after the wind. He died at the age of 60 and was buried in the city of David. Immediately after his son Rehoboam ascended the throne, 10 of the 12 tribes rebelled. The unified kingdom of Israel split into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah and never reunited. N. In Act 4, Psychological Analysis, approximately 1,000 words, on Solomon's life is a clear case study of the universal tension between human wisdom and human desire. His psychological changes are not unique. They reflect weaknesses that appear in any person who gains great power and wealth. In his early reign, Solomon's core psychology was rooted in humility and clarity. He knew he was young, and he knew that ruling a unified kingdom required more than just royal blood. He understood that wisdom was the foundation of good rule, and he did not confuse power with ability. His choice to ask for wisdom instead of wealth showed that his original goal was to rule well, not to satisfy personal desire. This clarity kept him disciplined in the early years and allowed him to gain the support of both God and the people. As power and praise accumulated, Solomon's psychology began to shift. The first change was the growth of pride. He began to take the divine gift of wisdom as his own inherent superiority. He believed that his success meant he could do no wrong, that he could bend rules to satisfy his own needs. The constant praise from visitors, the endless flow of tribute, and the obedience of his subjects fed this pride. He gradually started to measure his success by the amount of wealth and pleasure he accumulated, not by how well he ruled the people. And the second change was the gradual normalization of desire. His first act of excess was not a sudden jump into sin. It started with small compromises. Building a larger palace than needed seemed reasonable for a great king. Marrying foreign princesses seemed like a smart diplomatic move. Each compromise made the next one easier to accept. Eventually, he abandoned even the core religious rules that defined his role as king of Israel, because he believed the benefits of compromise outweighed the costs. Solomon did not lack self-awareness. There was constant tension between his remaining reason and his growing desire. He knew he was violating the rules he had sworn to keep. He knew he was straying from his original purpose, but pride stopped him from turning back. He did not want to admit he had made a mistake. He did not want to give up the pleasure and glory he had already gained. This internal tension consumed him and left him with a sense of emptiness, even at the peak of his power. And this tension is visible in the writing attributed to him. The book of Ecclesiastes, the constant refrain of vanity, reflects the emptiness he felt in his later years. He had everything the world could offer: wisdom, wealth, power, pleasure, but none of it filled the void left by his departure from his original purpose. His regret was genuine, but it came too late. He could not undo the choices that had already damaged the kingdom and broken his faith. And Solomon's flaw is not some unique evil. It is the same flaw that affects anyone who gains power: the belief that you deserve the rewards you have received, that you are exempt from the rules that apply to others, that more desire satisfaction will bring you more happiness. His story shows that even the most extraordinary wisdom cannot protect you from this flaw if you let pride erode your humility. In Act 5, Historical Evidence, approximately 800 words. Solomon's story is supported by both ancient textual records and modern archaeological discoveries, which confirm that he was a real historical figure, not a fictional legend. First, textual evidence. The most detailed records of Solomon's life come from the books of 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles in the Hebrew Bible. These records are coherent and include specific dates, measurements of buildings, tax records, and diplomatic events. This suggests they were based on contemporary royal records. They also include unflattering details of Solomon's later sins, which makes it unlikely that the narrative was entirely fabricated to glorify him. the Book of Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, and the Song of Songs are all traditionally attributed to Solomon, and their themes match the arc of his life, from wisdom to regret. Extra-biblical ancient texts also confirm Solomon's existence. The 1st century CE Jewish historian Josephus wrote a detailed account of Solomon's reign in his Antiquities of the Jews. It draws on earlier Hebrew sources and matches the core narrative of the Bible. Josephus also describes the construction of the temple and Solomon's trade relations, which adds extra detail not included in the biblical text. And second, archaeological evidence. Archaeologists have found multiple sites from the 10th century BCE, the time of Solomon's reign, that confirm the scale of his kingdom. At Megiddo, Hazor, and Gezer, archaeologists have found large 6-chamber gates, fortifications, and palaces dated to the 10th century BCE. These match the biblical description of Solomon's construction projects to strengthen key cities in his kingdom. And in Jerusalem, excavations on the Ophel Ridge have found large ashlar masonry foundation stones dated to the 10th century BCE. These match the biblical description of Solomon's palace and temple complex. The size of these stones confirms that large-scale royal construction took place in Jerusalem at that time, matching the account of Solomon's building projects. And archaeologists have also found evidence of extensive trade in the 10th century BCE Israelite kingdom. Artifacts from Egypt, Phoenicia, and Arabia have been found in Jerusalem and other major cities. This confirms that Solomon had extensive trade relations with neighboring regions. As records note, the amount of gold and luxury artifacts found from this period also matches the description of Solomon's vast wealth. And while there is some scholarly debate about the exact size of Solomon's kingdom and the scale of his wealth, the mainstream consensus among historians and archaeologists is that Solomon was a real historical ruler who ruled a unified Israelite kingdom in the 10th century BCE. The core narrative of his life matches the existing historical and archaeological evidence. Act 6. General conclusion, approximately 500 words. And above is the full life trajectory and human analysis of Solomon. No exaggerated drama, no forced moralizing, just a reconstruction of a real historical figure's choices and fate. And Solomon's life holds a clear mirror to human nature. He started with humility and wisdom and built a kingdom of unprecedented prosperity. He ended with excess and regret, leaving a divided nation and a legacy of warning. His story does not fit into a simple narrative of good versus evil. He was a man who had everything the world could offer, but still fell to the same weaknesses that touch every person who gains power and wealth. And wisdom does not grant immunity to desire. Pride erodes humility one small compromise at a time. No amount of worldly glory can fill the void left when you abandon your original purpose. These are the simple, unvarnished truths that Solomon's life reveals. And this analysis focuses only on the historical and human reality of Solomon, not religious doctrine. It presents only the facts of his life and the logic of his choices for you to reflect on. In the next episode, we will analyze another iconic biblical figure with the same objective, calm approach. We will continue to draw on historical evidence and psychological insight to unpack the real human nature behind the legendary stories. If you want to request analysis of a specific biblical figure, you can leave a note for future content.